Well, hello there. Today we are going to talk about Paulina Porizkova, the supermodel of the 70s, 80s, 90s. She's still beautiful. But there was
I don't think she was around in the maybe late 70s,
late
right?
70s, I
Yeah,
think. Probably she was starting out.
right.
But definitely in the 80s, I think that was her time. Um, and she was on the cover of Sports Illustrated and Vogue magazine and all the time on Cosmo and definitely one of the most beautiful women.
I think
She,
so, definitely.
yeah, and she married Rick Ocasek from the Cars, and recently, I guess about 3 years ago, they filed for divorce. They separated, but they were still living together. And she found him in his bed. Dad had been sick, and she found him. And her story is, if I get this right, is that they were still best friends, and had a love for each other. But it seemed like from one of the interviews that I saw with her, he had grown to not be interested in her anymore as a woman. And so that hurt her. And then to add salt to the wound, he had cut her out of his will. He had
But I don't
completely
think
cut
she
her
found
out
out. I don't think she found that out until, he passed.
after. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. That
but
was found out after.
yeah, I just
And
saw an interview with her. It's an old interview, and I was telling you about it. Remember, on this show with these two guys, they call it menopause, and they were talking to her about that and about being, her whole divorce thing, and I didn't realize that he she implied that he had not found her, was not desirable anymore, and I didn't realize that part of her whole situation because she's so beautiful and still, but I
yeah.
guess it happens no matter.
I think it happens in all marriages that you lose interest in the person sexually, physically, and you become best friends. And that's why a lot of marriages, just are more of a friendship and a business partnership as they grow together. And that's why a lot of times one or the other spouse will cheat. So that opens the whole can of worms. Are we monogamous? Should we stay with the same person our whole life? Blah, 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 whatever.
If you like our videos, go ahead and click on like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
But Paulina's point is she feels like she's still beautiful and sexual and attractive, in many ways, not just her looks. She's smart, and she's
She is
written
smart.
books. You were saying she's written books, right?
I don't have her books and I don't know what the names are, but I
Right, but
know
yeah.
I follow her on Instagram, as I told you,
Uh-huh.
and I know she considers herself a writer first over modeling or anything like that.
Yeah.
And she's writing a book right now, I believe.
Yeah.
So
So she has a lot to offer the world, but she feels invisible. She uses the word invisible. She feels passed over and not noticed, and she wants still to be noticed. So what do you think about that?
I think it's great, because I tell you this all the time. I love her, and like I had a friend that idolized her, thought she was the most beautiful woman in the world, and I have friends now that still think she's beautiful. They follow her on Instagram as well, and I think it's great because I know that well, like I was telling you from that interview, that she's wanting to get married. I don't know about getting married. I'm putting words in her mouth, but I know she wants to be in a serious relationship, and so she wants to be considered attractive, and she feels that she says that she feels like people don't notice her anymore, and that once she got to a certain age, like 45 or something, people started to not notice her anymore and not consider her sexy. Like she still does swimsuit kind of layouts, not for, I think she did one for Sports Illustrated, but I'm not sure. But I know she still does swimsuit stuff, and that she's gotten like trolls on her Instagram and stuff saying like, how can you, that's gross and blah, 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 and I'm just like, oh my God, she looks great. She has got a great body still. And anyway, getting back to how I feel about it, I just think I really admire her honesty. I do feel like and you may not feel that way, but I feel like she's really honest, and brave. I feel like to talk about all those things is very brave. And on her Instagram, she tries to really she tries to take in the other person. Like, she doesn't dismiss them or shut them down. Like if someone says something really mean, she usually retorts with something kind, or, I feel like she doesn't, she never gets mean, which I think is kind of cool about her, because she could just say like, this is my Instagram, this is what I feel. And if you don't like my pictures, don't come here, and that's one thing I admire about her. So.
Yeah, I think she's very smart. I admired her when she was younger, because I remember one thing she said is somebody was telling her how beautiful she was. And she said, well, thank you, but I have nothing to do with it. It's all genetic. It's my parents. And I really thought that was wise of her at a young age to see that, to understand that, and to understand that she's not that special. She's not, she is special. We're all special, but she, it's not to her credit. She doesn't deserve credit for it.
Right.
So that always stuck with me. I always remembered that. And now, my situation's different, because she says she feels invisible and she doesn't feel like she's acknowledged. Whereas I feel like I'm finally being heard as I get older. I feel like people actually pay attention to what I'm saying. And it's such a good feeling, because I felt when I was younger, I went to college on an academic scholarship. I think I'm very intelligent and have a lot of thoughts, and I can be an interesting person. And nobody listened. I really felt like nobody listened. They didn't want to hear it. They men. And I appreciate growing older and men not looking at me that way, and men wanting to hear what I have to say.
Right.
So to me, my experience is different. I think, I'm not acknowledging her experience. And, I have mixed feelings about it, because I feel like, yeah, if she's beautiful, and I feel like for her, she's probably in the wrong circle, because there are men who would love to date Paulina Porizkova, and not because of her name and her supermodel status, former supermodel status, because she's beautiful and intelligent, and she would maybe challenge him and not be a doormat. Because it sounds like she did a lot of growing up. She married Rick Ocasek.
That's funny. Your audio went out for a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's saying my microphone.
Okay.
You hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
So anyway, I feel like she's grown, and again, from watching interviews with her, she said, she started standing up for herself and feeling more empowered. And that didn't sit well with her husband. So, he lost interest in that. I think that happens too, because if you marry when he was like 20 years older than she was. And so he married a child, he could have been her father. And when she grew up and became the adult Paulina, maybe that was not what he was looking for. He was more wanting, someone he could control.
Yeah. Malleable, someone more malleable.
Well, yeah, that he, she didn't stand up to him or anything. So when she became her own person, it was a problem. And I think that happens in marriages.
I mean, that particular thing did not happen to me, because when I was a younger person, I dated someone a lot older that I didn't end up marrying because I didn't want to. But it was, I could see how that would happen, because some women, you can stay and you grow old together, even though you change. But a lot of times you will change like that. And it sounds like that's what happened to her. She started thinking for herself.
Yeah.
And it was a rude awakening, like when her husband passed away and she found out that, none of the money, that he cut her out of the will. And she even said, like, her prime working years that she worked, she helped, it went all back into the marriage. And that's what, in New York and California, it's a community property state. So, whatever, mine is yours, what's yours is mine, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So she felt very shocked and betrayed. Imagine the betrayal, when someone you think, that, and then
she still wanted to stay as friend, and they were still friends. They were, still living together. And it sounds like he got mean at the end. And you don't know his side of the story. You don't know what his reasoning is, or what she did that she doesn't realize, maybe, but it sounded like he had contempt for her, right or wrong, we don't know, because he's not here to talk about it. But it does sound like, he married someone very young, and when she aged, that's not what he wanted. Because here's my theory. If you're 45 and you're attracted to someone who's 24, I think that was maybe the age difference. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was about 20-year difference. If you're 45 and you're attracted to a 20-something year old, you're the one with the problem. You haven't matured. You haven't matured to, be attracted to someone your age and your emotional level of maturity. So I feel like, when she matured and grew older looking and behaving, that's not what he wanted. He still wanted someone who's in their 20s.
Right.
So he didn't really mature, is
Yeah.
my amateur psychology opinion without having talked to him.
Yeah, and that cracks me up too because like, I feel like he was lucky to have her, and then
Oh,
it's like,
well, you have to look at go a lot further than looks, but if we're just looking at the couple, he was very lucky to have her because she was gorgeous and she seemed, not anything weird or
yeah,
out there.
not no substance abuse.
Yeah, and had a good head on her shoulders, and
Very level-headed.
who knows between two people, the synergy, but he stayed with her all those years and to whatever he must have been. If she's, I think, 56, he was in his 70s and decides now he doesn't want to be married to her. That's
Well, I don't know
weird.
if he didn't want to be married to her, but maybe it
Well,
wasn't.
he was divorcing her.
Well, I thought, I could be wrong, but I know she says, he started losing sexual attraction to her or
Mhm.
something, right? But I think she was the one that filed for divorce, or it wasn't like he wanted a divorce. I think it was something happened and they both decided they wanted a divorce. But no, he said something like, my wife, I feel like he said something like, my wife, maybe because she filed for divorce, that's why he was so mad and cut her out of the will. I think I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I never heard that.
But
I thought he wanted out of the marriage.
I didn't know that he was, according to her, not finding, not giving her the emotional support and finding her attractive and all that stuff. So maybe that's what made her pull away and want to get a divorce, and then he was like, oh, you're leaving me. Now, this is all supposition because I don't really know.
Yeah, on both of our parts, we're just kind of, analyzing the situation because there's other couples that are probably in that situation too. And, the hope is that, but people are happy. That's the bottom line. And I don't believe in staying in a bad marriage. If you're not happy,
Yeah.
and you feel like you're going to be happier in another situation, then yeah, I support that. I just feel bad for her because right now at this point of her life, she still has a lot to offer and she's feeling ignored. But I personally think she's just in the wrong circles. I think she's meeting the wrong men. There is some man that's her age or maybe younger. We did the video on older women and younger men, and there's a lot of younger men that I bet would like to have.
Sure.
The problem is, she's past childbearing age and maybe, someone younger still wants to have kids, and, guys don't really have a shelf life, so they can have kids at any point. But maybe someone that already has had kids and is younger and, would want to have a relationship with her.
Yeah.
So I'm cheering for her and I hope she finds someone. I do hope she expands her circle though, because I think the circle she's in is probably superficial. The world of modeling and the men, and it's a superficial world. So maybe she needs to go out beyond that social circle.
Yeah, date a plumber. No, I'm kidding.
Why not? Why
No,
not? What's
I'm
wrong
not
with a
kidding.
plumber?
They're not. No. Yeah. So, in conclusion, I want to say that I admire the movement that she's trying to create too, which you may not agree with, but this movement. She has this hashtag that is, sexy has no age limit. That's this thing that she always says. She's between J-Lo and Betty White. That's her other hashtag.
Well, I do think how you feel has no age limit. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with her wanting to find someone. I just feel like she's basing her sexuality on her looks, and she keeps saying she feels sexy and she shows herself in a bikini, and um she has aged. She's not a woman. She does not look like she's in her 20s. Even though she looks great, she does not look like she's in her 20s. And so men that are looking for that are not going to want her. And so she should be okay with that. There are men who would want her. It's just that she's not in the circles where they would.
Yeah, but also I think like I've seen some pictures of her in lingerie and she looks amazing. I think her body still looks very young, because
Mhm.
I've seen it. I mean, not up close, but in the pictures. And so
Yeah.
I think that's the part that she's also, because I told you people will put these comments on there like, you're over 50, why are you wearing a bikini, or why are you wearing this, and she's kind of like, I'll show them,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with if you look good and you want to wear a bikini or whatever, that's fine. But I think those are just people that they don't see older people as sexy, and they're probably younger kids that, you don't see your parents as sexy, even if they're
I don't
beautiful.
know. I told you I have a friend, he's probably about 50, and he's like, after the Super Bowl, he's like, why would J-Lo, she's over 50 on the, dance on the pole? And I'm like, oh, brother, you wish
She
you
looked great and she's talented, and who cares about her age? Well, I think it's also that ageism thing
yeah.
of men, what is it? Men age,
Oh,
men look better with age and women don't, or
not
whatever it
always,
is.
not always though.
Well, that's what the myth is.
Yeah.
That's what it's always been considered, is that women don't age gracefully.
Right.
And again, my experience has been different. I am enjoying aging. I'm enjoying the different kind of attention that I get. Because I would be so frustrated when I was younger, so frustrated when, I had something very intelligent to say, and it would just be passed over. And then a guy would say it and it would be like, oh my gosh, yes, that's a great idea. So I think sometimes that's why I'm a little sensitive to people listening to me. As you know, Kimbra. But I do feel like the superficiality of it is what bugs me, because I feel like as we mature, we should be beyond our looks. I just feel like
That's definitely a thought.
relying on your looks, caring so much about your looks, to me, it's a waste of time. When you're young, it's for younger people. And I hate to sound like that witch that's saying that, but that's how I feel. Not because I feel like you're just more attractive. It's because I feel like it's so time consuming. And I had so much fun being a girl when I was young and putting on makeup and clothes and hair. And it was fun, but it was also just a waste of time and superficial. And
Well, it is superficial, but also that's what people do, to attract other people, to attract a mate, to
not everyone,
no,
not
not everyone,
everyone.
but what I mean is, I think that's what, like, the Paulina is, she still wants to attract a guy, and I personally like to look really good. It makes me feel better, like when I look in the miror, because I feel
Right.
so good
Well,
inside.
because it's an ego thing, because you want to feel like you look good. You
Sure.
look,
Well,
because the externality, it's all ego.
oh yeah,
And everything, like even feeling good because you're smart, that's your ego.
sure.
Feeling good because you look good, that's your ego. So our egos are driving this train, and our choices in life usually. But for me, I feel like personally, we've become such a superficial society, putting so much, and it's not everywhere. It's like in her circle in New York and LA. The rest of the country is not really like that. And that's a good thing, because it's relying just on our looks all the time.
It's a good thing, but the
a waste.
alternative is, yeah, but the alternative is, I think sometimes in those other circles, they need to have a little more ego, because if you go out of LA, even in mid California, and you see these people and you're like, oh my God, it's like they don't take care of themselves. They're not healthy. They let themselves go. So, I mean, I know.
Well, I haven't seen that. I don't see that. I see people that you don't get by on your looks.
Well,
You don't get by on your looks. And the obesity, if you're talking about the obesity in this country, that's different. That's about diet and health.
yeah.
But people aren't so caught up in how you look. It's all, not about how you look and getting ahead. And it's nothing to do with that. Which is I think the better way to be. Hollywood's a bubble, and New York's similar, but there's the finance there, and there's many other circles there. It's just, she lives in that circle of modeling where looks are everything, and she's trying to attract a man with her looks. So what she's going to find are men who are looking for a beautiful woman. And if you're looking for a beautiful woman, you're going to get the most beautiful woman you can get, which is usually someone younger. Because youth is beauty. Youth is beautiful. I mean, that's a fact. You're more beautiful when you're younger, unless you got plastic surgery or something, or changed, did something that changed. But youth is considered beauty in our culture. And to want to try to attract someone because of your looks, I think is
Well,
what
maybe
causing her some.
yeah, and but maybe in her
heartache.
own way, she's fighting ageism. Like I was saying, Bill Maher always says that's the last acceptable ism. Like we
Yeah.
could we can't say racial things anymore. We can't do this, but we can say things about people's age, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's called ageism. So maybe in her own way, she's trying to fight that too.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with, we're all different and we're all on our own path. You know how I always say that, and I think everybody should go after what they want and be happy. But I think her unhappiness is because she's in the wrong circles trying to attract men who are not going to be attracted to her.
Maybe you might have a point.
I told her I have some friends, they would love to date her, and they're
Oh,
good
so funny.
guys.
You joke, but I have friends that, like some of my mutual friends that you don't know, Sandy. I always talk about Sandy. She follows her on Instagram too. She's always like, "Come hang out with us."
Mhm. Oh, I have some gorgeous guy friends that are older and that have it going on and they're successful, and they would probably love to date her.
Hell
She
yeah,
just needs to
right?
step outside of that bubble and I think just expand her social circle. That's really what I think is going on with Paulina. She's gorgeous. She's just trying to compete with 20-something-year-old models, and you're not going to. It doesn't matter. You're
Well,
just not.
anyway, we want to know what you guys think. Should what do you think
Yeah.
about ageism? What do you think about looking?
Yeah. What do we? Yeah. What do you guys have to think about Paulina and her situation, her dilemma, being a beautiful former supermodel with a lot to offer? How does she find a man?
Right?
Let's get some suggestions. How does Paulina find a man? Let's fix her up. We should
Right?
have a
That's a good
contest.
one. Hashtag fix Paulina up.
Fix Paulina up. She's gonna find someone who is gonna treasure her just like her husband did at one point,
Right,
because she has everything going on for her, so she will find someone.
I'm not feeling sorry for Paulina one little bit.
Yeah, I don't think we need to. I don't think so. All right.
See you next time.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Bye.